Get ready for 3 DIY boho room decor projects. All of them were inspired by Urban Outfitters, but used Dollar Tree items and at a fraction of the price. And as always, DIY treats. Welcome to my channel, Craft, Eat, Repeat. Hi guys, it's Aneka and welcome to my channel, Craft, Eat, Repeat. So I've been doing a lot of online window shopping from Anthropologie and Urban Outfitters lately. I would love to buy everything that I see in those stores, but the way my cash flow is set up, my budget is Dollar Tree. So I'm gonna try to recreate those projects using mostly Dollar Tree items, and I really hope you like them. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing. Everybody hit that bell so you'll be notified when my next video comes out. And when all the DIYs are done, head down to the comments and let me know which one was your favorite. Or of course, you can just say hi. All right, guys, it's time to craft. So when I saw this planter in the Urban Outfitters catalog, I knew I wanted to make it. I love the natural fibers and I really love the simple lines of it. And I knew that I had some things in my house that I could put this together. So I'm going to start out with this dog bowl that I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to wrap it with some jute twine. I'm just going to start right in the middle and start wrapping around until it's completely covered. Now you can use any container that you want for this part. This is just something that I happen to have on hand that fit into some of the other supplies that I already had. But you can really just grab any planter that you have that fits into the bottom ring of this planter, and I'll show you that a little bit later. Now on the bottom of the planter, I did cover it completely because it'll be hanging and we will see the bottom, and I needed to put hot glue each step of the way as I went around. But once you get to the sides, you don't have to use as much hot glue. You can just put a little dab every 3 or 4 turns that you do around it and it will stay just fine. I made sure that I took my twine all the way around and over the top so that it would be completely covered even if you saw the top, and about 1 inch of the way down into the bowl. Then I cut it off and just hot glued the end. Now this is some twine that I got off of Amazon. It's one of my favorites and it has a lot less of those little flyaway threads that you get from Dollar Tree twine. However, there were still some, so I very quickly ran over it with a lighter and that burned those right away, but be careful when you do that. So now we're going to need our embroidery hoops that are going to turn into our planter. You need one larger one, and then the smaller one is just the size that happened to fit that dog bowl that I used. So you want one to comfortably and securely fit whatever you are going to put into it. I will leave the dimensions of everything that I used in the description box, but really it just depends on what you have on hand and the size of planter that you want to use. Now, after struggling with this for a while, which I am not going to show you, I figured out that it would be easiest to put a little bit of painter's tape around the top to hold this secure while we assemble our planter. So I just taped the top and then I taped the bottom down to the table. This way, the different rings would not be sliding around while I was trying to hot glue one side of it. So we're going to lean the top two against each other, and then we're going to touch the side of the ring to the bottom of the ring, which will become our planter, and let that hot glue dry. And then we're going to do the same thing to the other side. After I did it on top, I also did it on the bottom a little bit just to make sure that it was secure, and I knew I was going to wrap some twine around this, so I wasn't too worried about just putting a lot of hot glue on there. I wanted it to be very secure. Once the bottom was glued, I was able to put some glue on the top, and I just held it together and made sure that everything was nice and even while the glue cooled down and solidified. I also put some hot glue on the top again just to make sure that everything was nice and secure. So now we're going to just wrap a little bit of twine around our sides where the two hoops meet. Now, this is for a little added security, but I also think it adds a beautiful design element. You guys know I love twine. Any place I can put twine, I do, because I love those natural fibers, but this looks very pretty wrapped around the side like this. So just wrap it around a few times and then hot glue the end. Next, I'm going to take some twine, and this is going to be the rope that I'm going to hang my planter from. So decide how low you want it to hang, and that's how long you're going to cut this piece of rope or twine. All I did was just do a double or maybe even a triple knot because I wanted it to be nice and secure. And I didn't even really worry about what it looked like because we're also going to cover this top part with twine. That way you won't be able to see the clasp of our planter. Now, because that clasp is there, it was not a nice and flat edge on the top, but if you don't like that, you could take the time to take that clasp off and that would solve that problem for you. Once we have our rope to hang it, we're ready to just wrap this whole piece with some twine in order to cover up that clasp. It did take a few passes back and forth to make sure that I had the whole thing covered, but it was relatively easy to do. And then I just cut it off and glued it down. My bowl fits right inside, and now it's ready for my plants. You guys, this was so easy to put together, and I just love the simplicity of the lines, the circles. I think this is really beautiful. The next one isn't a specific project, more so a technique that you can use to make all of these tapestries and signs that I saw all over the website for Urban Outfitters. They had lyrics on them, sayings, whatever you want. One had the complete lyrics to the theme song of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and when I have more time, I will definitely be doing that one. But for right now, I'm going to do a quote from one of my favorite book series as a child, The Chronicles of Narnia. And I'm going to use an app that I love. It's called Texturama, and you can just find all kinds of different fonts and just play around in it until you find one that you like. You print it out, and then we're going to use this to make a pencil transfer. Now, I do not have a vinyl cutter, and doing this freehand would just be a mess. My handwriting is awful. So doing it this way really helps with spacing. It helps you to be able to do a lot of different fonts, and it looks great. So after I've colored it, I'm just going to cut it out, and then I'm going to get my canvas ready. This is just one of the 4x6 canvases that they have at Dollar Tree. It's pretty small because I wanted it to go on top of my dresser, but you can get bigger frames for a very reasonable price. You're just going to remove the staples from them and remove the canvas because we're going to turn the canvas over to make our frame. Once you have your canvas turned over, you can place the words that you cut out right where you want them. Now, I laid the frame on top of my canvas to make sure that it was nice and centered and that it would look great once I put the frame back on it. So now that I have it where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and put some tape so that it doesn't move as I'm doing my transfer. And then I'm going to use a pen to just copy right over the letters. Now I'm doing this for lettering, but you could do this for a picture, any kind of graphic that you want to put onto your project, you can do that. Once I've got everything traced, I'm just going to remove my paper, and I have a nice outline to follow to make my lettering look perfect. So I'm going to use this Sharpie paint pen, and I'm just going to trace over all of my outline. I like doing it this way instead of using a stencil too. I just don't personally have luck with stencils. If anyone has any suggestions for me on how I can get better with stencils, please leave them in the comments. But I just find this to be a much better way to get my lettering and my graphics down and make it look nice. So once I've got everything covered over in my paint pen, I'm just going to go ahead and cut right along that crease that was there from when this canvas was on the frame. Now you can leave the frame the color that it is, but I'm gonna go ahead and do a little bit of a stain to make it darker. I just mixed some of this truffle brown chalk paint with a little bit of water, equal parts, and I'm just gonna paint right over my frame. I like the look of this, and I have a lot of neutral colors going on in all these projects, so I just wanted a little bit of a darker color to my frame. So once that was dry, I'm gonna place it right over my canvas. If anything is peeking out, I'm just going to go ahead and trim that up. And then I will hot glue the frame onto the front of my canvas. So this is just called the reverse canvas technique because we're taking the canvas off of the frame, painting the frame, and then putting the canvas back onto the front of our canvas. But this is a really affordable way to get some of those canvases into your house. This only cost me $1, you guys. And even if I went and got a bigger canvas, I bet I could find one for $5 for a really sizable frame. This is just a really affordable way to get some wall art into your home. So this last DIY, I would call this a Pinterest fail if I had found this on Pinterest, but I actually like how it turned out, so I'm not going to call it a fail. I'm going to call this a happy mistake, but this is what I was trying to create. I like how that woven pattern was folded over, so I set out to make my frame. I'd already had this circle plaque, so I pulled that out. And then I just wanted to add a little more twine because like I said before, I love twine. You could even just use some floral wire if you have it. You don't have to use a ring quite this thick for this project. I'm going to remove the clasp from this ring because I needed it to be more flat. And then I'm just going to glue it together. Now, once that's glued together, I'm going to go ahead and cover this with twine. And I'm just going to do that by wrapping all the way around until it's completely covered. And I'm going to do that with both sides of my embroidery hoop. Now, this is some twine that I got from Walmart. Sometimes when I use a lot of something, I like to buy larger quantities than what they have at Dollar Tree, but you can definitely find a circle plaque and twine at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to go ahead and burn off some of those extra flyaway edges, and then I'm going to glue my hoop onto my ring. Now, I used the ring that was slightly bigger to put on the bottom. I'm not sure how much it mattered, and if you don't use an embroidery hoop, then you won't even have to worry about that part. Next, I'm going to take some skewers, and these are just in the food section of the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to glue them onto my hoop. Now, initially, I cut these to about 10 inches when I thought I was going to be doing a different pattern, but you will see at the end, I actually cut them shorter. The idea is just to cut them to whatever height you want your lantern to be. So I'm just going to take my skewers and glue them onto the inside of my ring. And then I just wanted to space them out as evenly as I could. So I just took a little scrap of a skewer that I had. It was a little more than a ½ inch long, and I used it as a spacer in between gluing all of my skewers. Now, they still did not come out perfectly, but they were close enough to make this pattern look nice and neat. After I had all my skewers in, I went ahead and glued the top ring on there. I did start weaving without putting the top ring on, and I found that the skewers were just a little too wiggly. So doing this step beforehand really helped it to be nice and stable, and it made it really easy to do my woven pattern. So I just placed it on there. I turned it around a few times to make sure that I was getting it nice and even, and I used hot glue to hold it on. Now I started my woven pattern with a twist, and I did not like how it was coming out. The raffia that I decided to use is just not quite as smooth as the wicker that they use in the inspiration piece. So I scrapped that idea and I just did a basic woven pattern with this raffia. I got the raffia off of Amazon because, like I said, I like to get some things in bulk. I'll be sure to leave down in the description box the link to the raffia and also the twine that I use, just in case you want to grab some for yourself. But what I did was I just glued a piece of the raffia on the back of one skewer, and then I went in an over-under pattern all the way around my lantern. So I went over one skewer and under the next. After I had one ring down, I got another piece of raffia, and wherever I started over the skewer, I glued it under, and then I did that same pattern. So we're going to go over one skewer and under the other, or if you want to think of it as in front of one skewer and behind the other. We're just going to go around like that in a basket weaving pattern, and we're going to do that all the way up to the top of our skewers. Once I got to the top, I just made sure that I did enough to get really close to the top so that you could not see inside of the lantern at the top, and I glued it down. Now, you guys, this is not how I intended this project to look, but I absolutely love it, and once I put a candle in it, I was sold. This has such beautiful light. It's nice and soft. It comes through all of that woven pattern in the lantern, and I absolutely love this piece. Trying to pick a favorite would be impossible because my favorite is basically the entire Urban Outfitters catalog. So head down to the comments and let me know which DIY was your favorite. So the weather is finally warming up, and even though I can't go on like a summer vacation like I was planning to, we plan to do a lot of grilling, a lot of just hanging out with the family and having a good time. So today's treat is kind of an homage to the summer that I'm going to have. I'm putting it into the universe. Even though this summer is going to look different than what I planned, it's still going to be awesome. And so are these treats. So I really hope you like them. Okay guys, it's time to eat. So this is a really fun one to do with cupcakes, cookies, or you can use brownies like I am. Now I'm just going to start by making lines all the way across my brownie top. And then I'm going to place a circle around that. Next, I'm going to use these candies, and I'm just going to use a toothpick and a little bit of my chocolate icing to make some grill marks, because this is going to be a summertime grill. So I grabbed some red and pink mica nikes and I made grill marks across them. I used 3, you can do however much you want. Next, I'm going to take the other mica nikes of various colors, or you can use gummy bears, whatever you want for this. It just needs to be colorful like grilled veggies. I'm going to go ahead and cut these in pieces. I cut them in thirds, but it really doesn't matter. Use your imagination and creativity on this part. Next, I'm going to take a toothpick, and be very careful with these guys. It's a little hard to get through that candy shell, and I don't want you to poke yourself like I did a couple times, but I'm just going to put my toothpick through my candies, and this is going to look like skewered vegetables on the grill. I'm going to place it on top, and that's it. So easy, so adorable. I cannot get enough of these. And that's it, guys. I hope you really enjoyed the DIYs that I had for you today. Please don't forget to head down to the comments and let me know which one was your favorite, or just say hi. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time when we repeat it all again.